Picture an entire nation in chains, crying out under a blistering desert sun, the Israelites enslaved in Egypt under cruel taskmasters. A new pharaoh, fearing their numbers, tries to break them with ruthless labor and even orders every newborn Hebrew boy thrown into the Nile. Darkness and despair hang over God's people. Yet, amid this oppression, one baby boy is saved. His mother hides him as long as she can, then places him in a basket on the Nile, praying for a miracle. In a twist of fate, Pharaoh's daughter finds the basket, has compassion, and adopts the Hebrew child as her own, naming him Moses. The boy marked for death is raised in the king's palace, a secret hope growing up in Pharaoh's household. Moses grows up aware of his true heritage. One day he sees an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave and kills him. Fearing Pharaoh's wrath, Moses flees to the wilderness of Midian and becomes a shepherd, thinking his chance to help is lost. But God is not finished with Moses. Years later, at Mount Horeb, Moses encounters a strange sight: a bush, burning with fire, but not consumed. From the flames, God speaks, calling Moses to go back to Egypt and free his people. Moses feels unworthy and afraid, but God assures him, "I will be with you." When Moses asks what name he should give for this God, the answer comes, "I am who I am." Armed with this divine name and promise, Moses obeys and returns to confront Pharaoh. In Egypt, Moses and his brother Aaron stand before Pharaoh and deliver God's message: "Let my people go so that they may hold a festival to me in the wilderness." Two Hebrews demand the release of an entire nation of slaves. Pharaoh is outraged. "Who is the Lord that I should obey him?" he sneers. To punish their audacity, he makes the Israelites' work even more oppressive. So begin the plagues. God strikes Egypt, the Nile turns to blood, frogs overrun the land, gnats and flies torment everyone. Livestock die of disease, boils break out, hail destroys the crops, locusts consume what's left, and a darkness covers the land for 3 days. After each plague, Pharaoh momentarily wavers, then hardens his heart again. Egypt is devastated, yet Pharaoh still refuses to let the people go. Finally comes a night of dreadful judgment. God warns of a final plague. Every firstborn in Egypt will die. To protect the Israelites, God instructs each family to sacrifice a lamb and mark their doorposts with its blood. At midnight, the plague falls. In every Egyptian home, the firstborn suddenly dies, from the lowliest prisoner to Pharaoh's own son. But wherever the door is smeared with lamb's blood, the destroyer passes over and no one inside is harmed. Wails of grief echo across Egypt. Pharaoh, shattered by loss, finally admits defeat and orders the Israelites to leave Egypt immediately. After generations of slavery, the people of Israel are free. The Israelites set out with whatever they can carry, guided by God's presence in a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. But as they approach the Red Sea, Pharaoh changes his mind and launches his chariots in pursuit. His army traps the Israelites at the water's edge. Moses tells them, "The Lord will fight for you, you need only to be still." Then he raises his staff at God's command, and the sea miraculously parts. Walls of water tower to the right and left, and a dry path opens up. The Israelites race across the seabed to the far side. The Egyptians charge in after them, but once the Israelites are safe on the opposite shore, Moses stretches out his hand again. The walls of water collapse, crashing down upon the Egyptians. Pharaoh's mighty army vanishes beneath the waves. Seeing their enemies defeated, the Israelites burst into a song of praise to the Lord, singing of how he has thrown the horse and rider into the sea. Yet the wilderness ahead tests this newfound faith. Soon the people grow thirsty and hungry under the desert sun. They grumble and long for the food back in Egypt. But God provides. He turns bitter water sweet, sends manna, bread from heaven, sends quail for meat, and even brings water from a rock. Each miracle teaches them to trust him, though they struggle with doubt. The Israelites have escaped Pharaoh's yoke, but now they must learn to depend on God day by day. After 3 months, they reach Mount Sinai, where God makes his covenant with Israel. His presence descends on the mountain in thunder, lightning, cloud, and fire, making the mountain quake and the people tremble. Moses ascends into this glory to meet with God. There, God gives him the 10 Commandments, the divine laws that will shape Israel's identity. He declares, "I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me." Along with other commandments for right living, these form the foundation of Israel's covenant with God. When Moses comes down and relays God's words, the Israelites agree to obey. A nation of former slaves is now bound to God by solemn promise. But this covenant is quickly broken. Moses remains on the mountaintop 40 days, and the people below grow impatient. Fearing Moses is gone, they urge Aaron to make a god they can see. Aaron melts their gold jewelry and forges a golden calf. The people bow to this idol and celebrate, proclaiming it as the God that brought them out of Egypt. On the mountain, God sees their sin and burns with anger. He declares he will destroy Israel and start over. Moses pleads for mercy, and incredibly, God relents and spares them. Moses descends, carrying the 2 stone tablets inscribed with the commandments. When he sees the Israelites dancing before the golden calf, he shatters the tablets on the ground, a sign that the covenant has been broken. He destroys the golden calf, rebukes Aaron and the people, and some of the guilty are put to death. The rest of the nation is plunged into shame and sorrow over their great sin. Moses returns up the mountain to seek forgiveness for Israel. In an astounding act of grace, God renews the covenant instead of abandoning them. He has Moses carve new tablets and proclaims, the Lord, a God, merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness." Even after Israel's betrayal, God declares that his mercy and love endure. Chastened and forgiven, the Israelites recommit themselves to the Lord. At God's instruction, they build the tabernacle, a portable sanctuary, so that he can dwell among them on the journey. "Let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell in their midst," God had said. When the tabernacle is completed, a cloud of God's glory comes down and fills the tent. From then on, God's presence stays with Israel. When the cloud lifts, they set out. When it settles, they encamp. The Lord is with them day by day. And so the book of Exodus ends not with the Israelites in the promised land, but with God in the midst of his people in the wilderness. A people once broken by slavery now walk in freedom with the Lord as their guide. They have seen God's power humble an empire, and they have felt his mercy restore them after failure. The emotional journey from oppression to deliverance, from rebellion to reconciliation, reveals who God is. He is a deliverer who hears the cries of the oppressed, and a faithful God who stays with his people through every trial. For Christian viewers, Exodus foreshadows the ultimate deliverance in Christ, but its message is universal. It's the gripping story of liberation and trust in God, a story that still inspires today. It reveals a God who breaks chains and journeys with his people toward a promised future.